Peace. In a real way. Yo, I was thinking about, I wonder, do most people know when their ego is leading them astray? Or when their ego is leading them in general? My bad, I'm looking at that's a groundhog. Yeah, and what made me think about that is I realized, like, for the last, I don't know, maybe a year or so, I've been curating my social media intake very carefully. And there's very few people that I will follow that don't follow me, and there's very few people, especially women, that I follow who are like selling vanity, you know what I'm saying? Or who think they're like motivational speakers, because I started realizing that too. Like, there's a thing right now where you got a lot of personal trainers, quote unquote, who are trying to tell you what to do to get in shape, but they're not personal trainers because they did what they're telling you to do. They look how they look already, and that's why they became personal trainers. Does that make sense? Like, you have some people who are just physical specimens. The average person can't really listen to or follow the same moves that somebody who's just physically endowed can follow, you know what I mean, or can do. Like, it's not going to work the same way for the average person. Like, that's why they're, special. That's why they're extraordinary in what they are. So, like, you have a lot of people who, or even, I guess that's the name of the game, so to speak. Because, like, when you look at some of these, beautiful women, and they're telling you, oh, this is what you could do for your skin, because this is what I do to my skin. But she might have good skin because her mama had good skin. You know what I'm saying? That ain't some shit she can sell you, but you're buying into it because she's a good looking person. Like, it's funny because it almost goes back to, I was talking to my cousin about actors in Hollywood, and I know I'm kind of off subject from what I started with, but we'll round it back up. Who's really a good actor or actress? Or is it the fact that we just like we like watching good looking people do things, And I think that's kind of what it boils down to, because when you look at the people that we, I guess, hold as the top tier of actors and actresses, I don't know if they're really that riveting as far as portraying a particular character more so than it is, we get so attached to them because they are attractive, and then when they go through certain motions, we just take the ride with them. Does that make sense? Like, take a show like Power, right? I remember the first season of Power, I was like, yo, this shit is kind of garbage. Like, the stories was low-key garbage, but it was just, some good-looking people and, like, sex and violence. So you're watching for the sex and violence and the good-looking people, but it wasn't particularly a good show. So it was enough to rope me in for the second season. I'm like, well, it's new. Maybe I'll wait, and the second season will improve. The second season didn't really improve either. I'm like, well, what the fuck? all right, I mean, I guess it's still brand new. Let's give it a chance. Like, third season. I watched the third season. I think I opted out at the fourth. Third season, I think, was when they tried to kill the fucking cannibal Armenian dude or Albanian dude or whatever the fuck. Either way, I started realizing, like, yo, is any actor really good? Or do we just enjoy watching attractive people do things? There's no real answer. It's just something to ponder. But going back to the ego thing, do you know when your ego is leading you? And what I mean by that is, like, I started noticing that there are certain times when I know a particular thing is not necessarily healthy for me, it's not good for me, but I still entertain it for a certain amount of time, simply because to feed my ego, like, you know, the need for balance, so to speak. And every human being has that, you know what I mean? Your ego is one of the things that you have in order to survive in this world. Like, that's part of your self-preservation in all actuality. Is directly tied into self-preservation, whether you know it or not. But when you let it run you, or if you don't master your ego, you know, then it can lead you to destruction in a lot of different ways. So I started, like I said, I started curating my social media shit, you know, deleting bitches who all they have to offer, well, excuse my language, but deleting bitches who, you know, only are showing themselves on a physical nature, or selling vanity is ultimately what it is. You know what I mean? Because we have a thing now where we're trying to pawn self-love off. Well, we're pawning vanity off as self-love. And that's a scary road, you know, because there's a behavior that comes along with being so vain. And there's consequences that come along with being vain. And I don't know if y'all are built for them. I don't even know if you really feel the way you feel more as, or whereas you're just pretending to be how you think attractive people are. You follow? Like, you got some people who never sat at the cool table. So when they graduate out of high school, they feel like they have a chance to be a new person. So they start to act how they perceived the cool people to act from afar, because they were never there. They can only watch from afar. So what they thought they saw is what they strive to imitate in the real world now, trying to be a new them. And it doesn't fare well, because you can't get an education from afar. The only way you could truly get a hands on, and the only way you could truly get an education in general, is either to be brought in by somebody who is educated or to have a hands-on experience. And those are the two best ways always to be educated. In order to get upstairs, somebody got to let you in the door first. Somebody got to let you upstairs, you know. But that's for somebody else. But yeah, man. Like, do you know when your ego is leading you or not? I tend to know when my ego is leading me, and because of my comfort with myself and my knowledge of self, I sometimes just take the trip. You know what I'm saying? I take the trip to see where it goes, because I need to know me under every aspect of duress. You need, like, that, how they say, the boy said on Fight Club, like, what can you really know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? That's real shit. Like, if you ain't never really been under pressure, you don't really know yourself per se. You don't know what you're willing to do. You don't know what you really, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you really composed of? You don't know what you're composed of unless you've been in a situation that puts you under extreme pressure and duress. That's why it's so funny to see people take a judgment stand regarding snitches and stuff like that. Like, oh well, you know, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. All that shit sounds good until a motherfucker is like, yo, we gonna lock up, you know, your mom if you don't tell us what the fuck, you know, we want to know. Then what you gonna do? You gonna hold down the block over your fucking mother? Or you gonna snitch? Nigga, snitching on all y'all niggas for my mom, yo. My mom's not spending her last couple years doing no fucking bid because of some dumb shit I did. So call it what you want. But that's how it really gets. Like, when the feds come and they, you know, really got a motherfucking case propped up against you and they can say some shit like, yo, you know, well, you know, your baby mom been driving the car, and if we want, we can lock her up too, and that's gonna put your kids in the system. And what type of man are you that you gonna let your motherfucking your responsibilities and your actions fall on the weight of motherfuckers that don't got nothing, well, you know, that don't got nothing to do with them in all actuality. You know what I'm saying? Bystanders, ultimately. You know? You ain't no real nigga for that. So it's just interesting how the lines can get blurred, you know? Like, I remember this chick was saying one time, you know, she got online, she was hurt, and she was saying, oh, you know, you can't be a real nigga if you're a liar. I'm like, that's not really true. Because sometimes the realest thing a nigga can do for you is lie for you. You know? If a nigga lie for me to the cops, that's a real nigga. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, she was trying to say it in another sense, but, you know, she was trying to push it in another angle. But you got to see it from every angle. Like, that, you can't just be out here making bold blanket statements like that, like, because they're not true. A nigga can be a real nigga for lying for you. For lying, period, in general. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we can scratch that. Oh, you can't be a real nigga if you're a liar. It's not true. It's not true at all. It depends on what the lie is and who you're telling it to. Everything is in context. But yeah, back to the ego thing. Like, do you know when you're being led by your ego? Do you know when, you know, that wild beast is stalking you? You know what I'm saying? Do you? What are the signs? Are there signs? I used to tell women all the time, like, if a nigga is telling you some shit and it sound right to you off the rip, that shit probably is a lie. Because a woman's ego is really, really powerful. Like, they're very self-centered. You know what I'm saying? So they filter everything through how they feel about the shit already. So if it already agrees with something they already feel, they should probably feel like it's wrong. Which is some crazy shit to say, because it's like, is that saying that all of their opinions are wrong? Not really, but you gotta understand your stance of what your ego is doing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Your ego wants to shrink the world for you. You know what I'm saying? It's to protect you, but it won't perpetuate any growth in your life if you don't control it, if you don't master it. You know, the ego is where that defense mechanism comes from, where people be like, oh, you know, I got my guard up. That's your ego protecting itself from being hurt again. You know what I'm saying? It's built a small world for you to live in where you feel like you won't get hurt. It built, a bunch of different places you can go that you feel are comfortable enough that nothing will hurt you there. A couple different people, relationships that you can, have that haven't hurt you yet. You know what I mean? But it's only a matter of time because life is lifing, so a person is going to disappoint you eventually. Like, nobody belongs to you, so nobody has to keep you pleased all the time. So when that happens, then what? You shrink your circle even further to protect your ego. Or you can master your ego and realize this life is a shared experience, and fortune favors the brave. And in order to find happiness, you have to be brave enough to fail. Period. You know what I'm saying? So stepping forth into new experiences gives you the opportunity to find the happiness that you never found. Because happiness is, part of the goal. Happiness, the fulfillment, the joy, the growth. All of those things happen on the other side of fear. But in order to get to the other side of fear, you got to push past your ego. Because your ego is the first thing that's going to make you say, yo, stay right here, man, because ain't nobody going to play you. Ain't nobody going to make you look like a fool. Meanwhile, the brave person will be like, man, fuck that, I'm going to jump. And if I fall, then I'll just fall. And, y'all niggas can laugh, but at least I tried. Y'all had to stay in there to laugh. You know what I'm saying? Y'all stood there and watched me try. You know what I mean? So who's the real bitch? But, yeah, the ego is weird like that. Like, so I started deleting, shit that wasn't really feeding me. It wasn't filling me up. I'll put it to you like that. It was feeding some part of me, but it wasn't filling me up. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about, a term like savage in the pursuit of happiness. When we say that somebody is savage in the pursuit of happiness, that means, they will go through voracious means chasing, but never attaining, Meanwhile, the wise and the righteous will measure and judge and exact a plan. And even if it doesn't land exactly where they planned it to land, it'll be closer to actually achieving the goal rather than being stuck in the continuous process of the chase. You know what I mean? Savage in pursuit of happiness is akin to what they call the definition of insanity. Trying the same thing over and over the same way, expecting a different result. You know what I mean? And that's for those who are, blind, deaf, and dumb. You know what I mean? That's triple stage darkness. Not being able to see, not being able to hear, not being able to speak. You've been stripped of the way to see, which is understanding. You've been stripped of the way to talk. You know what I'm saying? Which is part of your culture. And you've been stripped of a way to hear, which is really the first concept of sight, because when you're in your mom's womb, your eyes aren't developed because there's no light, but you listen for things. You can tell, you can hear through the vibrations of the water. You know what I mean? So the ear existed before the eye did, just like the heart existed before the mind did. Or before the brain, I should say, because mind is energy. But, yeah, I guess that's it for now, man. Appreciate y'all. Love you. Peace.